Hello and welcome to Asia News Today, our final program for at least the short term. We certainly won't be back next week. It is Songkran for the next week or so here in Thailand. Holidays all over the place. And for the short term, this program's going into recess. It will probably come back in some form or another, and we'll certainly bring that to your attention as soon as we know. But for now, let's get started with today's main news stories. Human Rights Watch has accused Australia's ambassador to Myanmar of lending credibility to Myanmar's military government. HRW's criticism came after the ambassador met with the Burmese military chief and Myanmar's state-owned media outlets on Wednesday to discuss cooperation in various sectors. Human Rights Watch Myanmar researcher Manny Muang says the meeting had hurt global efforts to hold the chief accountable for human rights abuses, and he said by taking photo ops and accepting gifts, Australia only serves to lend credibility to a military junta that is accused of committing war crimes. Last month, a human rights organisation, along with the Yale Law School Centre, accused Myanmar's army chief of creating a special command that deployed snipers to kill unarmed protesters. The report identified 61 military and police commanders who the researchers said should be investigated for crimes against humanity. After Wednesday's meeting, Muang urged Australia to align with its traditional allies by avoiding further high-level meetings with junta leaders and immediately imposing sanctions on Myanmar. Meanwhile, an official from Australia's Foreign Affairs Department says the ambassador had used the meeting to call for Myanmar to cease violence and release detainees. South Korea's incoming president, who promised to take a tougher stance on North Korea, is yet to take office, but the tone between Seoul and Pyongyang is already getting more adversarial, with barbs being thrown from both sides more frequently than under outgoing President Moon. President-elect Yoon Suk-yeol, who takes office next month, promised yesterday to strengthen deterrence against the Kim Jong-un regime's nuclear and missile threat. The moves could include bringing in more US military firepower, according to delegates representing Mr. Yoon. This year, North Korea has kicked off a much more frequent list of tests of its missiles, some reaching more concerning distances, and the tests becoming increasingly successful. A ship carrying 6 South Koreans has gone missing off Taiwan in the area either called the East China Sea or the Philippine Sea. A search and rescue operation is still underway. Taiwan's military authorities say they received distress signals from the Kyoto 1 just before 10 a.m. yesterday from a location about 29 kilometres west of Taiwan, adding that all 6 people aboard were South Korean nationals. The Sierra Leone-flagged 322-ton ship was on its way to Indonesia's Batam port from the South Korean city of Busan, while towing the Kyoto 2 tender vessel, which had already been found in the area. The South Korean government has put out a statement saying, "Our government has launched an emergency response team and dispatched a patrol ship and helicopters for a search." New commercial satellite imagery shows some of the clearest signs to date that North Korea is making new tunnels again at its remote underground nuclear test site. Analysts believe the new activity could potentially shorten the time North Korea needs for its next test. The April 3 imagery shows a new so-called cross-cut tunnel. A professor at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies says the telltale sign is the pile of soil in front of the tunnel, noting that it's rock from inside the mountain as they dig the new tunnel areas. This comes as North Korea may be preparing to take another provocative action next week in connection with Pyongyang's April 15 holiday, celebrating the birthday of the country's founding father, Kim Il-sung. At this stage, South Korean analysts say they didn't want to speculate about what specific action Pyongyang might take, but he raised the prospect that it could be a nuclear test or certainly another missile launch. North Korea has conducted more than a dozen missile tests this year, including several ballistic missile launches. A coal barge that ran aground in the seas off the Indonesian island of Java remains stuck, having already spilled much of its cargo and disrupting the local fisheries. The Woodman 37 was carrying coal from Banjarmasin on the island of Borneo to the island of Lombok near Bali, on a shipping route that passes by East Java. It was off Sumenep when it ran aground during bad weather. Now, the barge is still visible about 1.5 kilometres offshore. Reports from the Sumenep Port authorities say the barge entered the area on January 28 when the vessel failed to continue its journey. Two other boats, the Dolphin and the WM Fortune 1, arrived to pick up the coal. During the transfer, however, much of the coal spilled into the sea. The local Fisheries Agency and Environment Agency in Indonesia has been alerted about the incident but not turned up to inspect at this stage. The incident adds to the long list of environmental disasters by Indonesia's coal industry. Under a 209 law, such accidents are a violation of environmental management standards, for which the perpetrators can face up to 3 years in jail and fines of up to 3 billion rupiah, that's about $209,000. Indonesia is one of the world's biggest producers of coal. And Meta, Facebook's parent company, says it's taken down hundreds of accounts from the Philippines that were engaged in apparent malicious activities ahead of the May presidential elections. Among those removed from Facebook was a network of pages, groups and accounts allegedly set up by the New People's Army, the armed wing of the Communist Party of the Philippines. Meta says it's also removed from Facebook a network of over 400 accounts, pages and groups that worked to systematically violate the social media platform's community standards with the aim to evade enforcement in the Philippines. Meta's also flagged operations of fake accounts from other countries as the elections in the Philippines draw nearer. Well, that's our final whip around of the news from Asia for the past 24 hours. Thanks for joining us over the past 6 or 7 weeks. If you've been with us that long, I've got a funny feeling the show might be back in a slightly different form in the near future, but certainly next week we'll be taking a rest during Thailand's Songkran. Now, I can't go without saying we've also got our Thaiger shop. We've got bags, we've got t-shirts, polo shirts, we've got our Thaiger mugs, our Thaiger striped mugs, and there's some other things there as well. Thethaiger.com/shop. We'd be delighted to sell you something and keep you in our Thaiger family. And let's face it, everything's going to taste better out of this mug. It's been a pleasure having you with us on Asia News Today for the last couple of months. In the meantime, from all of us at the Asia News Today program, well, it's basically me and Chai and Jason, we thank you very much for watching and we'll see you next time.